My family wanted me to marry a rich girl. Then I met the waitress they mocked the day my father slid a velvet ring box across the breakfast table. I thought he was blessing my future. Instead, he was trying to buy my soul. He told me the daughter of one of the wealthiest families in the county had agreed to marry me, and all I had to do was say yes. When I quietly refused, the room exploded with disappointment, anger, and cruel laughter. They said I was throwing away a life of luxury for foolish dreams. But none of them knew that only a few hours later, inside a small roadside diner, I would meet the woman they would insult, humiliate, and call worthless, and she would become the greatest blessing my life had ever known. If you believe kindness is more valuable than money, if you believe love should never be measured by someone's bank account, please take a moment to like this video, leave a thoughtful comment, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribe to our channel so our community can continue sharing stories that remind us hope still exists. Rowan Mercer had spent his entire life surrounded by polished marble floors, expensive cars, and conversations where people spoke more about investments than emotions. His family owned construction companies across several states, and success had become their only religion. Every family gathering sounded like a business meeting, and every smile seemed attached to a financial opportunity. Rowan had never cared much about luxury. He had always been fascinated by ordinary people, by honest work, by simple moments that couldn't be purchased. Unfortunately, in his family, compassion was considered weakness. After refusing the arranged marriage proposal, Rowan left the mansion with a heavy heart and drove without any destination. The bright afternoon sun poured across the highway until he noticed a tiny diner standing beside an old gas station. The building looked forgotten by time, but something about its warmth invited him inside. The smell of fresh bread and coffee wrapped around him like a comforting memory from childhood. That was where he first noticed Eliza Hart. She wasn't glamorous. Her apron had tiny stains from a busy lunch rush, and a loose strand of chestnut hair kept falling across her face as she hurried between tables carrying plates with careful hands. She smiled at every customer, even those who ignored her kindness. She looked exhausted, yet somehow she never stopped making others feel welcome. When Rowan accidentally dropped his wallet beneath the booth, Eliza bent down to retrieve it before another customer could step on it. She returned it without even glancing inside, although it was filled with more cash than most people carried in several months. That single moment stayed with him. Most people saw money before they saw character. She had only seen another human being. Over the following weeks, Rowan found excuses to return almost every afternoon. Sometimes he ordered pie. Sometimes only coffee. Sometimes he simply sat quietly while reading a book. He noticed things others overlooked. Eliza secretly paid for elderly customers who couldn't afford lunch. She packed leftover meals for a homeless veteran who stopped by every Tuesday. She comforted a frightened little girl whose parents had been arguing outside. She never expected recognition. Kindness simply flowed from her heart. One afternoon Rowan finally learned why she worked so hard. An ambulance parked briefly outside the diner before leaving. The owner explained that Eliza's mother suffered from a chronic illness requiring expensive treatment. Every double shift, every missed break, every tired smile existed because she refused to let her mother lose hope. That afternoon changed everything. Rowan stopped admiring her from a distance and started respecting her courage. Their friendship grew naturally. They talked about books, old movies, childhood dreams, and the strange ways life surprised people. Eliza never asked about Rowan's wealth because she believed people deserved to be known before being judged. Rowan never mentioned his family fortune because, for the first time in years, he wanted someone to know him without seeing dollar signs. Months passed beneath bright blue skies and warm afternoons. They walked through local parks after her shifts ended, visited weekend farmers markets, laughed over terrible attempts at baking recipes, and slowly built a friendship rooted in honesty instead of appearances. Eventually Rowan realized he had fallen deeply in love. Not because Eliza was perfect. Because she made him want to become a better man. When Rowan finally introduced her to his family during a weekend luncheon, he believed kindness would be enough. He was painfully wrong. His mother examined Eliza's simple dress before forcing an artificial smile. His older brother whispered jokes loud enough for everyone to hear. His aunt asked whether serving coffee was merely a temporary phase before finding real success. Another relative laughed that at least the family would always receive free refills whenever they visited a diner. Every insult landed like another stone on Eliza's heart. Yet she remained graceful. She thanked everyone for inviting her. She complimented the food. She wished them happiness before quietly leaving. Rowan watched the woman he loved walk away with tears hidden behind remarkable dignity. That afternoon he finally understood something his family never would. Wealth without compassion is simply another form of poverty. His father demanded Rowan apologize to the wealthy family whose daughter had been rejected months earlier. Instead, Rowan packed his belongings and left the mansion forever. His decision shocked everyone. They assumed he would return within days after realizing how difficult ordinary life could be. Instead, Rowan rented a modest apartment near the diner. He found work managing a small community renovation project where every paycheck reflected honest effort instead of inherited privilege. Life became simpler. Money became tighter. Yet every afternoon felt richer than the luxurious years he had left behind. Eliza never celebrated his sacrifice because she never wanted him to lose his family. Instead, she encouraged reconciliation whenever possible. She believed forgiveness healed wounds that pride only deepened. Months later, tragedy struck unexpectedly. The diner owner announced he had no choice but to sell the property after decades in business. Rising costs had become impossible to survive. The employees would all lose their jobs within weeks. Eliza smiled bravely in front of customers. But Rowan noticed her hands trembling while folding napkins. Without work, her mother's medical treatments would stop. Fear quietly entered their lives. Rowan searched everywhere for solutions. He asked banks for small business loans, contacted local investors, and explored every possibility. Most people refused immediately after learning the building's location and declining profits. Then something extraordinary happened. The community remembered every unnoticed act of kindness Eliza had given over the years. The elderly couple whose meals she had quietly purchased shared her story online. The veteran spoke about how she had fed him when nobody else cared. Parents remembered how she had comforted frightened children. Teachers recalled how she had donated school supplies anonymously. Neighbors organized fundraisers. Local musicians held outdoor performances. Small businesses donated equipment. Retired carpenters volunteered repairs. Hundreds of strangers contributed whatever they could. Not because the diner served the best food. Because one waitress had quietly changed countless lives without asking for anything in return. Watching the entire community unite left Rowan speechless. His family had always believed power came from wealth. Now he witnessed something infinitely stronger. Love multiplied through kindness. As news spread across town, Rowan's father visited the diner alone one bright afternoon. Age seemed heavier on his shoulders than before. He looked around at volunteers painting walls, replacing furniture, repairing windows, and laughing together despite working without pay. Finally he asked why so many people cared. A retired firefighter answered with gentle honesty. Because she cared for us first. Those simple words shattered years of pride. For the first time in decades, Rowan's father saw people measuring success differently than balance sheets. He quietly walked outside and sat alone beneath the afternoon sun for nearly an hour. The next morning several trucks arrived carrying new kitchen equipment, fresh furniture, modern appliances, and renovation supplies. Nobody knew who had sent them until Rowan discovered a handwritten note. It simply read, "I spent my life building businesses. Perhaps it's finally time I helped build people. Please forgive an old man who forgot what truly matters." There was no signature. There didn't need to be one. The diner reopened weeks later brighter than ever. Families filled every booth. Children laughed over milkshakes. Neighbors gathered like old friends. The place no longer represented only food. It had become a symbol of compassion. Months later, under a warm afternoon sky surrounded by blooming flowers in the community garden beside the diner, Rowan asked Eliza to marry him. There were no expensive fireworks. No luxury ballroom. No reporters. Only genuine smiles, grateful tears, and people whose lives had become connected through kindness. She said yes before he had even finished asking. Even Rowan's family attended the wedding. Not because they suddenly became perfect people. because they had slowly learned that true wealth could never be inherited. It had to be earned through generosity, humility, forgiveness, and love. His father embraced Eliza with tears in his eyes, apologizing for every cruel word spoken months earlier. She accepted his apology without bitterness because she understood forgiveness sets two hearts free instead of one. Years passed, and the diner remained open, welcoming travelers, neighbors, and lonely strangers looking for more than a meal. Above the entrance hung a small wooden sign that never mentioned money or success. It simply reminded everyone who entered that the richest people are often those whose hearts remain open to others. Before this story ends, take a moment to leave a meaningful comment below. Tell us what touched you most, or share a time when someone judged a person's worth by appearances instead of character. Your story may encourage someone who needs hope today. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Remember that kindness often grows quietly, forgiveness can heal generations, and the greatest treasures in life are never found in bank accounts, but in the hearts brave enough to love without conditions.